Hello, I'm Nerd. This is the second time I'm going to try and do this tutorial, but this is going to be a tutorial on creating a basic scene. In Unity we're going to cover doing terrain, we're going to cover adding basic primitives to create a quick little maze, adding hills, adding some foliage, trees, adding a skybox, using the interface, and that's basically this tutorial is going to be about. This is what we're going to end up creating. So this is it. This is what we'll create. Something like this. So we're going to create something like that, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the if you're one of my students, you should have access to this. It's a starter project. If you don't, then you should be fine. You'll have to obviously add your own first-person controller, but yes. So we're going to start screen on. So that's like basically what we're going to create, and I'm going to create a similar version to that. Quick little overview of the editor. Though obviously you can have different layouts, but we've got our assets here on the left, console at the bottom, scenes, which is whatever folder's open, the entity hierarchy system here, so that's everything that's in the scene. They're all game objects. You've got player, and then you can have that's the top of the hierarchy of that object, and then you've got like sub objects basically underneath. The camera, for example. In Unity you also have components. Now I'm not going to go into programming too much. I've already added the player controller script. So, and obviously if you're one of my students, you'll already have that in the start project, so you don't have to program an entire player controller. But you can also find player controllers online, like templates. Anyway, we're going to obviously, because it's a new one, strip all this out and start from scratch. So go to the terrain, get rid of the lights, get rid of the capsule, we'll get rid of the cube, and we'll keep the floor because it's literally just a cube. Directional light's fine, and the skybox, that's pretty easy to prepare. The way I'm doing it here is just because you're in this project, we have the star. You click and drag this onto the sky, and then you can edit that directly. So for example, if I wanted to make this green, I'll do a little bit of variation. So you can change the colors here, make it sort of like a blue color. You can change all these faces too, but I wouldn't really. You can rotate it, all sorts of stuff. So if I go play, I shouldn't fall through the floor because I'm still oh, I spoke too soon. Oh, I accidentally deleted the player. That's not good. Right, that was stupid. Let me just undo that. I don't know why I did that. That's really dumb. Why the hell did I do that? Oh, no, I did it by accident. So get rid of the terrain again. Get rid of the maze. You can just Control and Z to undo, so that's good. Because I would have been a bit of a trouble without player. Go there, do that again. Here, get rid of that. And there we go. Something like that, and make it blue. Okay, cool. This is a package, but you can buy loads of little packages for skyboxes. Unity also has a built-in skybox. Anyway, now we should be able to make this look a bit cooler actually. That's pretty cool already. Look at that. So, just to vary the theme, because even though the last time I was recording this it failed, which is quite an interesting example of how you can iterate a design, which means to improve. We'll do the create terrain now. So I've also got that point light which is attached to nothing. So, the spotlight, sorry, but I'll move the point light here is just like it's a spread light basically. I can move that about. Look at that. So it's like a spread. You can see the actual range there. So if you look at the yellow that's around it, it's quite big actually. So I'm going to make it a bit less intense. I'm going to make it a bit less rangy. And I'm going to make it so it's inside that cube, if that makes sense. So if I go to this cube here, and I can grab this point light, put it underneath, and it's attached now to that cube. And it'll, you know, you can just get sort of creative with that, but I'm going to keep it a bit more intense, just as interest. Yeah. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Let's add some terrain, because that's one of the main things you need to do. So 3D object, click, right click, terrain. That adds our terrain. We don't want it to be that big, so we're gonna. This is our menu for the terrain here. We're gonna go to properties first. Now, obviously, there's a lot of settings here, but we want to change the width. We don't want it to be huge. We're not making a big map, so change it from 1000 to 200. Go to this menu here on the side, and I can drag it around. We've got our movement, we've got our rotation, we've got our scaling, we've got our point editor rect tool, and a transform. Main ones you'll use most of the time is this: move, rotate, scale. We don't want that to be passing through, so I'm just going to move it down a bit, and then yeah, there we go. We're going to build a little simple terrain, so let's do that. So we're going to first we need to give this a material as well, so you can find the material under the terrain settings. We go here, and I'm going to give it simply dirt. Not dirt, actually, it's quite a bad one. Grass. There we go. Okay, so next I'm going to paint some hills. So you've got all types of different brushes here you can use. Some of them are a bit more noisy, some of them are less so. Brush size is the actual size of the brush, so if you made it massive, that's going to affect a larger area, surface area. A bit smaller, less so. There you go, just click, left click, and that adds the terrain basically. It's quite nice, quite jagged. We'll mix it up a bit because the last one was like a bit more. We'll just do something a bit different, like make it a bit more like this. Just click, and then every time you click, it raises up. You've got raise or lower. There's other ones you can do, but we'll just use raise or lower for now. That's mostly with terrain. That's the one you're going to use the most. I'll quickly just do that. You can also click and hold just to quickly just keep it spreading. So we'll do that quickly. We'll create like a little cave area. Just lazy and do that. So we're going to have like a little bit around here. This is obviously very quick, so it's not going to be the best hill painting I've ever done in my life, but there you go. As long as we get the effect we want, then go to game again, go to game tag, press play, and we can just test it out. Have a look at that, and that should look pretty cool. There we go, look at that already. That's pretty interesting. Turn the sound down a bit. So we got the hills done. That was pretty fast. So we're blitzing through this a bit faster actually now. Switch back to tab. I'm going to turn the sound down a bit. I've not already talked about the sound, but we've already got you can access that for the properties on the sound object there. I've selected a song called Shrimp Sector 1, and then I've pitched it down a bit because I was playing around with that earlier. I'm going to turn it down a bit because it's a bit too loud in the ear. I'll pitch it up slightly. And there's all sorts of sound settings you can do here, but we don't really. Also good to be aware that Play on Awake a loop makes it so that it like loops as music, because you can also add ambient sound, but I'm not going to go into the sound too much. This environment design. Anyway, so yeah, slightly different. You can see how much the pitching changes it. So it's quite ambient now, quite like a bit more atmosphere here. Could do with some trees though, right? So let's go here, and we're going to go to this little tree thing here. I'm going to edit trees. We need to add a tree. So I've got a package which has got a bunch of pre-defined trees, but of course you could add your own. You could either create them, or you could, and you can create a package. We go brush size like that. I don't want the density to be too much. I'll do that. Add a tree. Add a tree. I'll just start clicking. So I left click. Once I've added that tree and press save, I can now add a bunch of trees. You can also add grass. So let's do that. And I'll go to grass, that one. add. You can add. We're going to do this as, there you go, so we've got some grass there. Probably going to make it a bit more denser grass. You do have to consider performance, but I mean, for now we'll just add a bit more there. So yeah, there's a bit of a draw distance on that, but again, it's like just because I'm not really customised any of this. Just paint grass everywhere. Probably added a bit too much there, but yeah, I mean, with environment design, it's actually like you do have to consider optimization a bit, but for now, it's just a case of let's just see what we can do. There we go. And then that's a lot of the environment stuff done. Actually, basically, if I do it, we'll finally go into the adding some primitives, which is pretty easy actually. It's got this grass added here. I mentioned just the spotlight, so you can add click, light, and a spotlight, which is what I've added onto the player camera to give that little effect there. And spotlight is like editing any other kind of light. You've got range, you've got intensity, you can change the colours and such. I'll just delete that, don't need it anymore. Another thing to be aware of with this is you can add different sectors. So say for example you want to make a further terrain on the top or the bottom or anywhere else, you can do that. So if I just click there, it creates another terrain. I don't need to do that now, but yeah, you can do that. That's useful to know. So if I wanted to extend it, I can just do that. I can just create another terrain. Anyway, so one thing that might be a little bit of an interesting experiment again is just to go to the player, because I've attached the spotlight underneath the hierarchy, which means it'll follow the camera around on the camera, but it's not really looking that great at the minute. The positioning is a bit off, so let me just see. If I just do my mouse wheel to zoom in, and I hold down the right key to orbit around, and then click to interact. I should have mentioned that actually before, but I don't know. I guess I'm assuming a certain level of being able to use the interface at this point. And I'm gonna change the position of the spotlight. I'll just I need to zoom in really a bit more. Try and make it a bit more like here, like that. See if that you can see it on the camera still. Nope, it's a bit off. A lot of this is trial and error, so especially when you do something like this, you might have to do a rotation or something. Move it up. Main camera. That's looking better. And then if I rotate that on this axis, it should. Not the main camera though. Not that. I don't do that. Spotlight. I'll do this like that. Now, and I need to probably move it back a bit. Slightly. It's going to be a bit awkward on the axis, but maybe like that. Something like that. There we go. I'll just put it on here. That should be like a light that's around me. Yeah, there you go. So, yeah. That's just to show you that you can do that. It's quite cool, isn't it? I mean, a lot of the time when you're creating these levels, it's like you'll have an idea and you want to test it out. But it does often require a lot of tweaking, but yeah, it's just part of the process, really. Okay. There's a bit of atmosphere here now. Obviously, it still looks a bit unnatural in places. That light looks a bit off, but it's pretty cool, right? So that's all good. So finally, I'll just show you how to create a few cubes, apply material to it. I've got a cube there, add it in, move it down a bit. I'm going to create a basic maze and do that. And then I'm going to change the material, so go to the properties, got materials there. I'm going to change it to see-through, which I've got already. There we go. So you've got see-through material there, so it gives it an interesting effect. I'm going to create something that's fairly tall like that. And then I'm going to just make sure it's in the right place, and I'm going to copy a bunch of these so it creates a bit of a sort of like room around the player. Now obviously there's many ways you can do this. You can obviously add in a mesh as well, which has got pre-made building or scene that you want, that if a proper 3D modeler is added, but this is a very simple way that you could create that sort of thing. I'm going to rotate that on the 90 degrees on there. Y-axis, which basically just turns it 90 degrees on the axis. So there you go. You do that. And I'll just create a duplicate again. Right click and duplicate. That's a very important thing to do, to know. If you want to just quickly copy a primitive, you can just do that. And I'm going to rotate that around again 90, just so I've got another horizontal. And we'll just do some whatever here. And I'll change the view. So you can click that 2D one just to change the view around a bit. More of a top down. You can also switch to a completely 2D view if you want. Yeah. But I'll just do it in 3D for now. So, okay, let's just get some of this in here. I'm going to create something quick. I want to keep this quite short, really. There's a bit of a blast through everything, really. And say if I want to duplicate all this control, hold it down, duplicate. And I'm also going to group all these together once I've got it, like, you know, it's not exactly tidy, but just something there, something's there basically. Duplicate, and quickly drag that like that. Alright, we could also add a ceiling if we wanted, which would be relatively simple, so if I just go duplicate. Again, this is super simple. You wouldn't always be creating stuff like this, rooms like this, but it's an example, as I said. Make it a bit thinner with the scaling tool, and I'll make it, put it there. Use the grid to help you with this. You gotta try it when you start working, especially in the perspective mode in 3D. You really need to get used to thinking in 3 dimensions. So you know how to move the mouse around. So that comes with time. I mean, I've been working on level design for years, and sometimes I still get a bit mixed up. It's a lot of tweaking, a lot of, and you learn the best practices as you go on. You know. Anyway, got a bit of ceiling there now. So I've added that, and then I'll just group all those elements together. Show you can do that. So I got this see-through walls. You can obviously apply different textures if you like to. So say for the ceiling I want something else, just select it. Give it a, maybe this one, the metal ceiling or something, a bit more solid, or maybe something else just because it's the floor. Maybe even that, or I don't know, maybe building, oh, I don't know, whatever, like anything really. That's a weird one, but shouldn't really be applied on that surface. Maybe a bark, whatever, anything, just to demonstrate. Okay, finally, if we wanted to then group all those objects together so they're all in one 3D object, that's not empty, sorry, and then room, and then press down Shift, select all of those primitives, and then simply put them under that. And then now, if I wanted to do this, I can just resource them all as one. I'd have to select each primitive individually, and I can move them around like that, which is quite useful actually. In fact, it's best practice, so it's well worth doing. If you're going to be creating some room or something out of primitives, you need to be able to group them together like that, so that you don't have to like. You can still individually edit each primitive, right? But it means you just don't have to like. You can group them together. It just makes logical sense, you know. Because if you can imagine if you had to like select each individual one if you want to make some changes, and then you had to select every single primitive, it would be a monumental pain. One other thing just to finish off that you could do also is add some. I think I've got a if you want to add a mesh, for example, I've got a little necromancer character here, which is pre-made, but if you want to add any mesh, you can just do that. So you click and drag that, whatever the mesh is, drag it into the scene. Now I've got this guy in the scene, this necromancer. He's got animation, we won't go into that, but yeah, you can do that. And I can also add a collider. I'll just add a box collider. Mesh collider's fine actually. Because it's a mesh, we'll do that. Provides contacts. Oh, I need to select the mesh as well, sorry. So yeah, that's worth knowing. So if you do add in, like, for example, your own actually I'll just add a cube for now because it's like quite a complicated one. Yeah, I'll do not mesh, I'll do a cube. That's the cube. Box collider provides contacts and size. You can modify the size of that. So that basically is just provides some contacts for the model, and that should work if I just do that. So I can't walk through the model basically, and I'm getting clipping. And obviously, if you're doing it with a mesh, you would. Oh, Oh yeah, it's there. So I can't walk through him. There's a guy there. He's not doing any animation because I'm not adding anything, but don't really need to do that. It's just a demo that you can do that. Add a quick mesh box collider, collision box as it were. Collision box is just so that the player who has a collision rigid body and rigid body on them, so that you just when that rigid body collides with something that's solid, i.e. collision box, it won't walk, just immediately go through it. I've yabbered on for enough time there. That's basically done. I hope that's helped a bit with some teaching you about doing basic environment design within Unity. Yeah, thanks for watching. If you're one of my students, hope that's helped. If you're not, then I hope that's been easy enough to follow. Yeah, thank you.